Here's your cum sauce!
Rocking with delicious food.
Your mask, chef? Oh, hell no.
Oi, if I hear one peep from the health inspector, I'm assaulting all of you! Sexually! You pineapple-looking bitch!
Attention Zoomers, do you know what the greatest game of all time is? You might not have heard of it, or maybe you have, but you're too zoomy brained to experience true Kino. Ocarina of Time has been critically acclaimed to be one of the #1 games of all time by IGN. Anyways, I'm here to side with IGN, the true chads for once. This is the one that you hear about constantly. No one talks about the Zelda games before Ocarina of Time, like ever. That's because I suppose you hear about Majora's Mask frequently as well, but that one's not really known as the GOAT. So what sort am I here to talk about? The level design. It's so unique. Each dungeon has its own theme to it. The art style of the game, the medieval fantasy, it's got vibrant colors. It doesn't feel old. Some detail that I kind of like is when you're a kid in the game, the colors are a lot more vibrant and bright. And once you get to the second half of the game where you become adult Link, it almost drains the color out of the world, or it's a lot darker colors, darker tones. The art design was very good for that game, and it carries it. It still looks good today. I was playing with the Ship of Harkinian, which I would highly recommend. I would not recommend playing the 3DS version of the game. However, I did get that one. For some background information, I've played through this game like 100 times. I've learned a bit of the speedrunner's route, a bit of the speedrunning routes for this game. A lot of the tech that you get, like bomb hovering, all like hyper extended super slides, a lot of the movement tech is very cool. My $1 billion game idea is I would like a game that has Zelda-like elements where these glitches are revelations that you'll get taught about later in the game, and that will help you access areas later. Like the idea of a consumable resource like bombs that allow you to gain height or move faster, long jump over large gaps is so unique, and I legitimately think knowing some of the speedrunner tech improves the game. Each boss is so unique in the game. I don't feel like they've been copied. Like no one's really copied the Zelda series properly going forward. The unique items like the hook shot where you can pull yourself to any wooden location or to specific parts of designated locations. That is so cool to me. Growing up, I wish I always had a hook shot to play with in the real world. Some items are kind of one note, we'll say, like the slingshot as the kid or the boomerang. They're kind of one-offs, don't have a whole lot of use. Bond have so much uses to them. The item design is so unique. Whoever did the directing for this game, my guy Shigeru Miyamoto, did an excellent job producing the game. I really wanted to point out something that in the final boss sequence, they did some very cool tricks to make the ending more exciting. For one, they play with the lighting a bit. They bring up this fire around you. They tone the lights down. It's almost hard to see yourself. Hard to see Ganon's face. He almost looks demonic or monstrous. You can only really take out the way his eyes look. When he finally transforms, he expands into this monstrous being where, again, the only thing you can really see clearly is his demonic eyes sticking out. With the flashes of the lightning, it's so good. The presentation for the final fight, and the fact that they take away your sword immediately at the start of the final fight, you're just like a fish out of water. You're like, well shit, now what am I gonna do? The fact you have to use these items you get along the way, or I suppose if you do one of the extended long running paths, you get a big Goron sword, which is just like a big ass sword. I didn't do that for this run, but it's so cool that you are forced to lose your main weapon throughout the game and start using these tools that you have been using the whole game. And the soundtrack is so good. Each area, each dungeon has a unique soundtrack for it. It makes it sound so unique. From the water temple, the Muslims in the fire temple that they removed for 9/11. Everyone's favorite Gerudo. The music for this game is so incredible. Something I wanted to point out was that, yes, there was a remake for this game for the 3DS, and they kind of butchered the last sequence because they changed the art style and they fuck up the lighting quite a bit. Like, it's a lot easier, a lot clearer to see what Ganon looks like right now. He's not nearly as monstrous or demonic looking, and when he transforms, the lighting doesn't even change. So the fact that the lighting of the room, like, man, bro, what do they do to my boy when he's expanding? You can clearly see him. Lighting really helps set atmosphere. Honestly, the graphics for the remake are not really that great. I feel like it kind of ruins the art style. I'm a big fan of the trope that you start the game as a kid because there's a easy explanation for why all these world fantasy elements need to be explained, because, well, you're a kid, you've never seen the real world, so you can self-insert yourself as the player a lot better than some games where you start as an adult, such like Uncharted or any Borderlands game. Like most modern games, you just sort of spawned in as an adult in this world and you're kind of expected to know. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek on how you don't really know much about the world. Whereas when you start as a kid who's isolated in this forest, it makes a lot more sense. Here's another sequence that I find spectacular. In the water temple, the mid-boss room you end up in, it's a room that doesn't look like it should exist in the... It's like crazy big, like the hyperbolic time chamber. You can see off into the distance in all directions. And there's just a tree surrounded by water in the middle of it. It's so cool. The game has ray tracing. Kino has ray tracing. And then you walk over the island and your shadow or your reflection is gone. And you have to fight your shadow. And I also am a big fan of how it switches up. You have to learn to outsmart your literal clone, where you can't damage him because he damages you the same way. So you got to think of ways you could, again, use the tools you got along the way to outsmart and kill him. And honestly, this is just set up for Ganondorf at the end of the game. Like, without this boss, people would be a lot less clever about how to beat Ganondorf. I know there's ways to kill Dark Link without using like the Megaton hammer like I do, but I mean, it's honestly the easiest, so it is what it is. Speaking of the Gerudos, this is Chud Heaven. There's brown women for everyone, every Chud to go around. Just don't let them take their mask off, because that schnoz on them is a bit excessive. I'll be real. There are good foids on both sides. They also have a unique boss fight where you have to look out for one specific attack, because if you get hit by it, you get knocked out and thrown in horny jail. So you have to think about how to do the fight differently or react space better. Be more aggressive so they can't get that move off. Everyone knows about the final boss of the owl, and if you don't, he's a noob trap. If you smash the A button to get through his dialogue, you will hit the button that's a yes in the dialogue tree where he repeats himself. This is the final boss because if you're a Zoomy, you're just going to be mashing through the dialogue very fast, and you're just going to be stuck here for the rest of your life. Good luck, kids. Some Zoomies never beat this boss. The puzzles in the game are pretty good and unique. They're not super difficult. I would say the hardest puzzle in the game is just the water temple, where a lot of it is fucking with the water level in order to get 3 or 4 keys before you can progress. And if you don't know you need like 3 or 4 keys to progress, you're gonna have a lot of back and forth as you open a door, discover the next door is locked and there's no key in there, back out, come back with another key, and then repeat. Now, back in the day, everyone was asking us to beat the water temple for them because those normies just can't figure out how to find all the keys, which admittedly, they're pretty cleverly hidden. This game's not gonna hold your hand. Honestly, it's very good for the time. When people bitch about yellow paint, they are referring to memories of dungeons like this, where you have to be clever and search nook and crannies or take in the details like, oh, hey, this platform is going to raise and lower with the water. I got to come back because I think I can go underneath it when the water's higher. I'm a big fan that you can actually do some of the dungeons out of order in this one as well, because there's ways to get around not using certain items. Like back in my day when I was a kid, I would do like the last dungeon, the Spirit Temple dungeon before the Shadow Temple, but I believe you're supposed to do it the other way around in order. Also, the Spirit Temple boss is a baddie. We crack it for sure. kind of like the idea that the last dungeon in the game, Ganon's Castle, has you go through a lot of similar themes to the dungeons you went through. It's kind of nice revisiting the locations you've already been through and seeing unique room types for them. It's almost like these are rooms that were cut out of the dungeon and moved here. Funnily enough, there's a Master Quest version of Ocarina of Time. That is a harder version of the game that was originally released for the GameCube, I believe. The biggest changes is they make each dungeon more difficult and challenging, which is very cool. I kind of like the biggest appeal to these games were the dungeons. So when you get essentially another new game of the same type, you're very happy. It's almost like a DLC remake or DLC expansion. Of course, it probably cost like $60 back in the day, but there's ways around it these days. So I would definitely recommend, if you call yourself a gamer, you need to experience this one. This is on the bucket list, number one on the priority. The story to the game, I mean, let's be honest, is not very great. It's some basic I gotta go kill I gotta go kill this Ganon green guy because he's green skinned and he needs to die, that type of thing. But the world building is pretty cool. Allegedly, there's a giant timeline for the entire Zelda series. I don't want to talk about that because it sounds like some schizo Pizzagate, like I don't really want to talk about that because this sounds like some schizophrenic shit. Like, look at this. There's a future timeline. There's a past timeline. There's you go missing, child hero, fallen hero. None of this matters. This shit's worse than Kingdom Hearts. Just take every game isolated from the rest. Except the CDI Zelda. Everyone knows the lore of that one. It's iconic to YouTube history. The Triforce summons a hero from another dimension during the absence of the legendary hero. That's the kind of shit we're talking about. Yeah, thanks for watching. I stream sometimes. My streams are pretty funny, or at least very high energy, and I tend to stop them if I run out of energy, so that's why they're shorter. I would think they're worth watching as their own thing. Admittedly, I'm still working out the kinks in some of them. Subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to smash that motherfucking like button. And brofist. We're brofisting now. I'm gonna brofist myself.
A white boy who busts it down sexual style is not necessarily considered goated with the sauce.
That's what I've been saying, Tucker. It's crazy to me that they don't think he's goated with the sauce. You can see him on the yard right there, actually. He's busting it down sexual style, and they want to say he's not goated with the sauce. It's really despicable.